Welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, we bring you a story full of surprises and hidden angles that few people know about. Don't leave just yet. Just when you think you've figured it all out, there are fascinating and meaningful details waiting for you at the end of the video. Let's explore together and uncover the special message this video has for you. Are you ready? Let's get started. Meanwhile, history beckons us back to a turbulent era. From the depths of the sea, sails emerge, and with a thunderous volley of cannon fire, a wave of English soldiers crashes ashore. The Spanish, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, retreat inland. Having failed to seize Spanish Hispaniola, the English now set their sights on Jamaica, a sparsely defended island. Claimed by Spain in the days of Columbus, Jamaica had borne the scars of conquest as the Taino people were enslaved and nearly eradicated by disease and abuse. In their place, the Spanish brought enslaved Africans, who now, amidst the chaos of the English invasion, seize an unexpected freedom. Spanish resistance lingers until around 1660, but it is the newly freed Africans, nearly 1,500 in number, who continue the fight from the shadowy forests. Known as cimarrones by the Spaniards, or wild ones, the English call them Maroons. Over time, the Maroons retreat deep into the mountainous wilderness, where they elude pursuit. It is said the ways of them became utterly unknown to the white people, and they remain an enigmatic force for years. As the Maroons vanish into the mountains, Jamaica's coasts transform into a den of vice. Port Royal, notorious for its pirates and debauchery, becomes a haven for buccaneers like the infamous Henry Morgan, who raid Spanish ports with merciless ferocity. Clergy denounce the city as a cesspool of sin. But the island's greatest blight emerges not from the pirates, but from the inhuman machinery of slavery. Ships carry the broken remnants of the transatlantic voyage, enslaved Africans who were sold and brutalized on plantations. By the turn of the century, their numbers swell from 550 in 1662 to 45,000, many perishing from the grueling and violent labor of sugar production. Punishments for defiance are unspeakably cruel: castration, mutilation, even death by fire for those who dare rebel. Yet in the rugged Blue Mountains, a different story unfolds. Runaway slaves and survivors of uprisings form their own bands, joining the Maroons in a relentless fight against oppression. Under the cover of darkness, these warriors descend on plantations, torching fields, killing overseers, and liberating the enslaved. In the heart of the mountains lies Nanny town, a haven for hundreds of Maroons. Here, echoes of West Africa resonate in the traditions, languages, and communal life of this diasporic village. Women cultivate yams and plantains, men hunt wild game, and children grow up free. The Maroons are led by formidable figures. The Windward Maroons follow Nanny, a wise elder whose spiritual guidance inspires resilience, while the Leeward Maroons rally under the leadership of Kudjo, a shrewd tactician. Many are from the Akan-speaking Gold Coast, their skills forged in the crucible of African wars. They traverse Jamaica's hills with unmatched prowess, communicating through signaling horns and wielding spears, swords, and stolen firearms. When British planters push into Maroon territory in 1722, they meet fierce retaliation. Plantations are razed, enslaved workers rebel or flee, and the Maroons remain untouchable for nearly a decade. It isn't until 1730 that the British Crown, desperate to suppress the Maroons, dispatches regiments of professional soldiers, setting the stage for an extraordinary chapter in the history of resistance. The British militia and military face an uphill battle, both figuratively and literally, as they enter the rugged mountains. Lost on false trails and falling into traps, they are ambushed by the elusive Maroons, who vanish back into the wilderness as swiftly as they strike. The relentless Maroon warfare, coupled with frequent slave rebellions, brings the island's economy to its knees, draining the white population's strength. Already outnumbered nearly 10-1 by enslaved Africans, the plantation owners grow increasingly desperate. At an emergency legislative meeting, the governor issues a dire warning. There never was a point of time which more required your attention to the safety of this island than at present. In response, the British mobilized large forces to attack both bands of Maroons, capturing several settlements. But their plans backfire as enslaved Africans, conscripted to fight for the British, defect to the Maroons. In a dramatic counterattack, the Windward Maroons retake Nanny town, turning the tide of resistance. The rebellion spreads like wildfire. Planters find themselves surrounded by a quiet but omnipresent underground network. Intelligence about British movements flows from enslaved individuals to Maroon scouts, keeping the resistance one step ahead. Sensing war, the Windward Maroons, fiercely loyal to their leader Nanny, prepare for battle. In 1734, 400 British troops, including 100 professional soldiers, marched toward Nanny town. A division blocks the rear, but the Maroons ambush and scatter them. As the remaining force advances, the Maroons strike from behind trees and boulders, unleashing chaos with shouts, gunfire, and devastating precision. The British retreat in disarray. Inspired by this victory, slave rebellions erupt across the island, and runaways flock to the Maroon ranks. Planters abandon their estates, and even the Jamaican legislature acknowledges the Maroons' growing power, lamenting that they plundered all around them and reduced His Majesty's revenues. A planter admits, "Our men dare not look them in the face in the open ground or in equal numbers." But the triumph is short-lived. Later in 1734, a large British force scales a treacherous path to Nanny town and bombards the village with small cannons. The Maroons resist fiercely, killing 80 attackers in the skirmish, but they cannot save their stronghold. Forced to flee, the Windward band disperses to hidden outposts. Some attempt to join Kudjo's leeward Maroons in the west, but the cautious and uncompromising leader refuses to harbor those outside his direct authority. Turned away, the Windward Maroons retreat further into the mountains. For a time, there is quiet. The British regain a tenuous sense of control until 1737, when the Windward Maroons resume their fight. Exhausted by years of conflict and unable to conquer the mountainous terrain, the British seek peace. They first approach Kudjo and the Leeward Maroons with gifts and hostages, offering them a treaty in 1739. The agreement grants the Leeward Maroons 1,500 acres of land, the right to hunt widely, and permission to trade in colonial towns, promising freedom and safety. Yet, this victory comes at a cost. The Leeward Maroons must suppress rebellions and return runaway slaves to their owners. Though some of Kudjo's followers view this as a betrayal, he enforces the treaty with ruthless discipline, even executing 2 men who plot rebellion. The British then turn to the Windward Maroons, despite their fierce independence. One observer notes their women wear necklaces strung with the teeth of British soldiers. The looming threat of war with both the British and Kudjo's Maroons forces them to sign a similar treaty. The hills, once a symbol of liberation, are no longer a refuge. The British have turned old allies into enforcers of the slave system. As the century progresses, the number of enslaved people in Jamaica soars to nearly 300,000. The cry for freedom grows louder, but massive revolts are crushed with brutal efficiency, often with the aid of Maroon warriors. In 1791, the Haitian Revolution ignites, sparking fear of widespread rebellion across the Caribbean. By 1795, tensions between the British and the Maroons of Trelawney Town, formerly Kudjo's stronghold, erupt into yet another war. The struggle for freedom continues, but the scars of betrayal and resistance run deep. The Maroons of Trelawney Town stood resolute, a defiant community surrounded by neighbors who, whether out of fear, lack of resources, or strategic caution, remained unwilling or unable to lend their support. Despite this isolation, the Maroons drew strength from a deeply ingrained spirit of rebellion, a legacy passed down through generations of resistance. This spirit was reignited as runaway slaves from across the island continued to escape the bonds of servitude and join the Maroon ranks. Their numbers grew steadily, bolstering their cause and reinforcing their ability to confront the formidable British forces that sought to subdue them. The British, accustomed to conventional warfare, found themselves ill-prepared for the Maroons' expert use of guerrilla tactics. The dense forests of Jamaica became the perfect battleground for ambushes, where the Maroons leveraged their unparalleled knowledge of the terrain to outwit and outmaneuver their enemies. In a series of fierce skirmishes over the span of just 2 months, the Trelawney Maroons inflicted devastating losses on the British, killing 70 redcoats while suffering no confirmed casualties of their own. The psychological toll on the British forces was immense. As they were repeatedly thwarted and humiliated by an enemy they could neither corner nor defeat outright. Facing mounting losses and desperate to bring the conflict to an end, the British resorted to scorched earth tactics. They systematically burned the Maroons' crops, destroyed their provisions, and cleared the forest brush that provided cover and sustenance. These measures, though brutal, gradually weakened the Maroons' ability to sustain their resistance. Deprived of food and shelter, the Trelawney Maroons were finally compelled to negotiate peace. Yet, even in the face of such devastation, their surrender was not immediate. It came slowly and with great reluctance, a testament to their resilience and unwavering determination. The British, eager to neutralize the threat of future uprisings, seized the opportunity to remove the Maroons from Jamaica altogether. Nearly all 500 inhabitants of Trelawney Town were forcibly exiled to a distant and unfamiliar land. They were sent to a harsh northern climate where their first winter proved to be one of the coldest on record. With only makeshift shelters to protect them from the elements, the Maroons endured unimaginable suffering. Years of hardship followed as they struggled to adapt to their new environment, all the while petitioning the British government for permission to return to their homeland. Their pleas, however, fell on deaf ears, leaving them to face an uncertain future. It was not until 1800 that the British offered the Maroons a chance to relocate once more, this time to Sierra Leone, a West African colony that had become a haven for many formerly enslaved Africans. For most of the Trelawney Maroons, Sierra Leone became their final home. They established new lives, drawing on their indomitable spirit to rebuild and adapt once again. However, the longing for Jamaica never faded. By the 1840s, after the abolition of slavery in the British Empire, some Maroons seized the opportunity to make the long journey back to the island they had once been forced to leave. For the elders among them, this return was profoundly emotional, a bittersweet reunion with the lush mountains and enduring Maroon communities that still stood as a testament to their legacy. Today, the story of the Trelawney Maroons endures, a symbol of resilience, resistance, and the unbreakable bond between a people and their homeland. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found this story interesting and meaningful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any exciting content coming up. Leave a comment to share your thoughts. We're eager to hear from you. See you in the upcoming videos with more unique and meaningful stories. Stay with us,